Bernie.
I was happy where
No rest for the weary.
We'll call you if you need to.
I'll call Herkimer County Planning Development Committee to order. At 11.
A little louder, please. Couldn't hear you.
Okay. Basically, main item is approval on the bid for the summer bus to Old Forge for the Old Forge Youth Work Program. Jim, you want to give us a rundown?
Bernie, please jump in. Last year, we had a very good bid. We think the company probably lost a lot of money. We got one bid this year from Bernie Bus for $580 per bus per trip. We had 127 trips last year. What we're recommending is 120 trips. Talking with the Youth Bureau staff and then talking with Old Forge, we think we can make that work. That will be an additional $8,000, but it's still within our budget because last year's bid came in so low. So our recommendation, we'll throw it out at that. You guys can do whatever you want to do.
Did you say 100 and how many trips?
Last year, Helen, was 127, and we're recommending 120.
Didn't they only run one bus?
Do I have a motion?
At times, Fred, absolutely.
Do I have a motion?
I had a question.
Okay, we'll have our motion in second, then we can have our
I'll
discussion.
make a motion.
All right, Bob.
second.
Second, Ray. All right, discussion.
Planning Development made the motion.
Are the people that...
Oh, okay.
I made the motion that in play.
Okay.
Are the people that we supply this service to, do they kick in any funds at all into this?
No. No.
Has anybody approached them about kicking funds in? Our cost goes up every year.
Yeah, I think they pay it on their taxes.
They what?
They pay it on their taxes.
On their taxes? Yeah, well, everybody does that. So
Yeah.
that's not a valid argument as far as I'm concerned. We don't provide this service to people in West Winfield.
Oh, do we want to go into that argument about what we provide where and to whom?
Yeah, it's a good argument.
I'll be glad to do it.
It's a good argument.
Yeah.
Why are we providing it for one particular service in Old Forge? They pay nothing.
Old Forge is paying a lot in taxes.
Old Forge is, right.
Yeah.
It's just a question.
Helen?
Why do we have 10,000 people on welfare and only 100 come from Web, but Web still has to pay all that bill?
Because we pay all this money to send those kids up there to help. Why would they want
And Web pays all that money to put all these people
I'm
on
not going to
welfare.
argue that.
But that's my argument on it. It's a service. Are we doing a good job for the people up there and for the kids going up there?
This isn't a one-way service. This provides employment opportunities for kids in the valley that can make some really good money going up to Old Forge. It's a long, tough day. And these kids make some good money. And it's a win-win situation for the people in Old Forge. It's a win situation for the kids down here trying to make a buck for the summer.
What kind of money are they
Thank you
making
for
out?
recognizing me, Mr. Chairman.
Better than some of you.
Excuse me, please. Helen?
I noticed that we did get the paperwork on this instead of bid. It's $30,000. It came in on the 8th of May. Did we actually take bids on this, or did we just call for a quote? Transportation.
It's a sealed bid.
It is a sealed bid. How many responders did we get?
We only got one.
How many did we solicit from?
I think about 8.
And
we didn't get the one who won the bid last year. Mrs. Steltieri is trying to get a reason from them that they didn't bid. She does believe that she believed at the time that they were losing money on it. But she doesn't get able to get a hold of anyone.
And how does this price contrast with what we paid last year?
Last year the price was $472. But this is actually less than Bernie's bid last year, which is $586. I'm sure they did $580.
But we're 50. Is it $580 or $508?
$580.
So you're talking several.
$108,000.
And it's how much over the first and a half?
About 69,000, 70,000.
I went through the
Well,
whole
we
thing,
just went through this.
word for word.
Well, I
Dollar
think
amounts,
the piece that I'm curious
trips,
about, the
numbers.
Oh, my God.
why we're rendering those services, and I can appreciate this aids the small businesses that are in Old Forge. Do we also, I mean, these are kids from our area being able to get jobs up there, and I know children who benefited from working up there. I know others that weren't so happy with it, and I guess that's typical in the workforce. But we allocate the 19 jobs or 19 jobs that we get as legislators, we allocate those to the town of Webb also?
The
To
19
kids to
jobs?
use? Yeah,
Through me?
yeah.
Yeah, we allocate them, and I have given a handful over my 14 years to the town of Webb.
So you
Most of them
were
go-
able to give them back to other,
Most of them go to the town of Ohio and Poland, town of Brunswick.
and those kids live close to Webb and are available for the transportation. I just was interested, I mean, you are getting an accurate, a fair piece of that pie. And,
Ways and Means, those in favor of the motion?
Wait, no,
Wait, I think
You're
I'm
planning and
waiting.
development.
I mean, planning development. Planning development.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
My issue is I wonder if there was any way if we met with the folks up there. We're pretty much basing it on 7 days a week, right, the bus? So 7 days a week, we're pretty
Yes.
much. I wonder if there'd be any way of going to 6 or 5 days a week.
it's my understanding
Hang on
that
a
kids
second.
go up there,
Aren't there some days that we're running one?
Yes, yeah, Fred made that point.
Toward the end of the season, we only run one bus.
Well, I think we have to do that next year, but maybe we can, and I don't know how scheduling goes and where they go, but you know, maybe there is a way to go. Okay, Ways and Means, we need a motion.
So moved.
Second. For a second. Okay, any discussion now?
it's my understanding, I mean, this is business, the kids go up there on the bus, and they expect to be there for the day, and if the weather's bad, they say, okay, we don't need you anymore, and then the kids wait around all day for the bus to return if the weather's bad. So the employer, obviously, it's a major business decision for the employer. I think we are providing them a workforce, and hopefully it's a good workforce, and I think there should be overtures to them to contribute toward this, and perhaps at least asking them for any increase that we have experienced. And if they, and go to one bus, if they want to pay for the difference.
Nothing wrong with asking the kid to kick in the bucket for the day.
Making $7.25 an hour, and some days they're not getting paid. They're going up for 2 hours and told, never mind, I don't need you, it's raining.
That does happen at a location.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
That's part of the risk of a kid getting a job. I think it's a great program, it's been in existence, it's worked. I don't know why we're arguing about any of it.
Well, Dennis, you gotta measure the savings on the cost of fixing in a steel situation if you don't have work.
Yeah. It works.
Any other questions? Jim's Ways and Means? Okay, all in favor of this contract?
No,
All opposed? Then there's discussion on asking people to kick in some way,
Next year.
so we probably should, we probably should set it up. Well, you know, is it just the, is it the students, or is it for the kids working, or is it the kids? What are you asking, the employers, is that what you want to hear?
Yeah, the
I
employer.
thought that we were talking to them about your idea of 5 or 6 days.
Okay. I mean, that's the other thing too, if we could do it, you know, less, we didn't have to do it 7 days a week, maybe that could.
You get into issues when the county collects money, don't you? There's some, there's issues.
What's
Well-
the issue?
Issues arise when you start collecting fee for service when you're a
Kid or
government.
something.
Well, I don't think you should collect from the kids. I think you ought to ask the employer to pitch in toward the contract.
It's still a fee for
Let
service.
him pay the contract. He's willing to pay half, and we do it all the time. We're doing it right now with some of the money. They pay 6, we pay 3
158, yeah.
for the college course.
69, that's for 102 buses. That's for 120 trips.
College Corps doesn't go through
Which
it.
Bob would be about
No, we share the
75%.
cost.
There's issues.
2 buses.
There's issues.
I didn't hear what you said, Jim.
Bob was asking me about the 1 bus or 2 bus, and I told him 2 bus most of the time and 1 bus for about 25-30% of the time.
Anything other for planning and development?
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second for planning and development? Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those in favor of adjournment, planning and development?
Aye.
Those opposed? Passed.
Seconded.
Ray.
Ray,
Next. What's next? I'm going to the hot dog.
yes, we've got more stuff coming. Hey, Bert, will you do me a favor?
I'll think about it.
I trust you. Smitty, will you come forward?
Am I gonna get the wrong one?
Right in front of the hot dog, away from the library.
I gotta make copies.
Mr. Bono, how many other meetings besides this one?
Resources, 8 things on the agenda, plus we have ways and means.
Thank you.
I love it. I'm only 24 of them.
I think that's it. I think just 8.
Plus their own agenda. Ways and means and HR, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
14 items total.
Thanks, Bernie. Appreciate that.
I'd like to call the Human Resource Committee to order. First item on our agenda is approved by psychiatric service agreement with mental health department.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. This is a request to deal with an emergency staffing situation. One of our psychiatrists has encountered a serious health situation that required immediate treatment and so forth. This is about 3 weeks ago. So we were asking to cover his time by having another psychiatrist who's worked with us for a very long time and then come down a day a week. Since he initially encountered the health situation, fortunately been found not to be represent an immediate crisis, and they're monitoring it so that Dr. Zappa is asking and will be able to continue with us 1 day a week. So we're asking to replace his other day by using Dr. Ann Menon again, who was asked to join us. So I guess it's a switch. I'm asking for a maximum of 18 hours a week on the chance she comes down twice. And that will be time that was previously allocated for our other doctor.
Motion in ways and means.
So,
Second.
I have a motion for human resources. Second.
All in favor,
Is the money in the
Wait.
budget just done?
there's no more hours, it's just reassigning hours, Ed?
That's right. Yes.
Yes, Ellen, it's in the budget.
All in favor, ways and means.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All in favor of human resources?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Second one is thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thanks,
you.
Ed.
Can we have a question for Ed before he leaves?
Yes.
Just, I mean, there's not a lot abound about the closing of, for the Pinefield will close or become a regional active center of excellence. Do we have much impact to the children's program in Long Island?
Sure.
Have you been solicited for any input on it?
State of New York solicits nothing, Helen.
Are you offering it then? Because I know the adult side didn't impact us, like I'm wondering if the children's side didn't impact us.
I have heard nothing about that, one, rumor or otherwise. The state never solicits our opinion, and they never ask for it, and they never respond when we give it.
I was Mr. Chairman, I know that Oneida County and the county mental health commissioner has made the statement that everything is great or just great, so the adult side, and I would hope that maybe you could inquire. I don't know how much you're interacting with the county, but if it's critical to Herkimer County, I would hope that we could at least know. We pass resolutions all the time here where we don't want something to happen.
Right.
So maybe if you can at least inquire on whether there's imminent, I know staff were called in and told that the state is deciding what children's place would be the center of excellence. There's no places to close.
Okay.
St. Lawrence is geared to close. I don't know if their children's program is any longer. And whether we're going to be impacted in any way if there's a closure of the Mohawk Valley, I think we should be up front so we have a resolution if it's necessary.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. I know. Number 2 is approve the DRAI plan for DSS. Can you help us with that, Tim?
I sure will.
What does that stand for?
That stands for Detention Risk Assessment Instrument. It's a
Thank you.
it's a tool devised, created by the Office of Children and Family Services and combined with juvenile justice to determine whether or not a child should be placed in secure or non-secure detention.
Can I just take a minute, Mr. Chairman? Yeah. This was something dreamed up by New York State. It was asked of Tim to submit it. It was asked that he doesn't bring it to the legislature for any approval or anything. Tim and I both felt we should at least bring it to the committee so the legislature knows how they're spending their money.
Who asked that it not come to us?
Well, there's no, I said that wrong, Helen. New York State said, Tim, do the plan, send it to us, with no authorization from the local governing body. And Tim and I disagreed with that. We said we should at least bring it to the committees.
You'll find that I couldn't support this. I also realize that I have to do it. So technically, we were provided with a template to prepare the plan, provided with a copy of what this instrument actually was, instructed to present the plan to Office of Children and Family Services. I did distribute a copy to everybody. I don't know if everybody had a chance to look at it. It's kind of detailed. I've had an opportunity to look at a couple other districts who've submitted similar plans. You find them both ends of the spectrum. Some are detailed, some are not. I had to convene a task force of a variety of county government. We got that together. We have this finalized draft. And I wanted to get it here so everyone would have an opportunity to review it before I submit it.
Wasn't it due April 30th?
I called them together. Anybody has any questions?
I just have, I did try to read it, and I thank you so much for sending it out. The secure detention versus non-secure detention, there's references in here, so let's say Kids Herkimer. But the contract we have with Kids Herkimer has expired, yet we're putting it in our plan?
No, they were part of the work.
I thought if you're saying where we keep them and where we're not, so
You're
this
talking about the
doesn't.
detention diversion program?
Yeah.
And you're talking about the segment of that refers to alternatives to detention.
Right.
And I believe it's predicated on the legislature approving it. Doesn't mean it's going to be Kids Herkimer, but that's what we have in place.
But the contract says it's expired, right?
Yeah, it runs on the state history.
But this is referencing that we're using Kids, we're going to use Kids Herkimer. I don't know if that was the one we had a lot of debate in this.
No, we never did debate this one.
Okay. And then when I looked in here and we talked about secure detention versus non-secure detention, of final agreed upon purposes, they're identical. The wording is identical. Is that the criteria, and then you have the score? I mean,
we have the score. It's a 4-point score system. It applies. The instrument applies to both secure and non-secure. So that's the parameters that gave us. The odd thing about this whole thing is that the person who conducts the instrument can also pretty much trump the findings of the instrument. It doesn't say if you score X, you have to send a child to detention. If there's other circumstances when you wouldn't have to, then they can override that.
Is that the judge?
No, that's actually the instrument. The person who actually has the instrument. Now, ultimately, the judge will make a decision, absolutely, and has and will.
How would you view this changing how you currently operate?
Well, two things. The biggest thing that bothers me about it is the off hours. It's a 24/7. The second thing that bothers me about it is, traditionally, let me state this first. Over the last 10 years, we've only had one of these that anybody can remember, an off-hours detention problem. And that's because our local police, I believe, law enforcement, have a way of handling these things that don't involve limited resources from my department. My goal is to put this out there so that it doesn't become a regular practice. So that worries me in the long run. Other than that, there may be a few administrative changes.
Do you see cost impacting you now from this?
Immediately?
You've been forced to do?
I can't say that it will because I don't know if they're going to approve it in its current format. They could. Not a lot, but they could.
If this plan is implemented, are you looking at more staff?
No.
Good.
I'm going to utilize the staff that I have and my contract staff to achieve this. And that's where we go to the off-hours thing. I'm going to ask a little more of my contract staff on off-hours in conjunction with my current staff, the resource people that work, again, they're on call 24/7.
But it isn't just a clerk who can do this. This has got to be a specifically trained individual.
I would not have a clerk do this.
That's what I mean. You've got to have a very sophisticated individual capable of responding.
You have to have somebody who knows how this juvenile justice system works, how the social service system works.
It does seem to hold people accountable for a timeline because we're dealing with a youth in distress.
Right.
I thought it was interesting. I didn't see anything here that talked about family.
No.
Nothing mentioned family, which is kind of sad because if you're trying to do something and turn it around, I recognize sometimes the family can be the problem, but they also need to be part of the solution.
I'm also not convinced that we're the target market for this plan.
Does this plan in any way impact the people we have contracts with or exclude people that we might want to have contracts with based on the requirements of the plan?
Well, like I said, it'll impact, as much as it hasn't happened a lot in the past, it could impact the current contract staff on a limited basis.
Okay, that's personnel. I'm thinking more residential programs. Does it exclude anyone or places that we would have available to us?
No, I would think not. It's not near that.
May I have a motion for human resources?
Second.
Motion, Ways and Means.
Second.
All in favor, Ways and Means.
All in favor for human resources? Opposed? Carries.
Are we in favor?
Yeah.
Or are we upset that we've got to do this besides?
Well, we're upset, we got to do it, but we're...
It's a mandate, and we're complying with the state mandate.
Right. Like Tim, I think Tim mentioned we got 45 days then for them to get back to us. 45 days usually means about 5 months. Then we'll see what they do. Do they approve? Do they tweak it?
But my overall view is this is a state mandate that's coming at us and we're complying with it.
Right.
And it's the cookie cutter company. This is something attempted at Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo, New York City, and they're making all the other 50 small counties do the same thing.
We want to approve the contract with UCP for Shoppers Program and OFA.
All right, Sabrina approached me about this program. This will help our seniors up in Coldbrook, Middleville, Poland areas. They have some day programs up in those areas, and what they're going to do is a staff member and one of their consumers are going to go out to the seniors' houses, do a shopping list with them, and then go out and do the shopping for them, return the groceries to them. They have a whole system of like a vouchering system, like with the money, if they give them a certain amount of money when they leave, they sign off that they got it, and they sign off and return the change and everything to them. So this is a service that's not going to cost our county $1, and it's going to benefit both the seniors and the consumers. So I think it's basically a win-win situation.
Motion, Ways and Means.
All in favor?
Wait.
Oh, Frank. Yes, second.
I'll second.
Motion for human resources?
So move.
Second. Second. Helen?
I read that. I think it's a good service that can help the people. I just question why we need to be the ones doing the contract. why UCP, because I wonder about liability nonetheless, because we're sponsoring, I would think that maybe UCP, in conjunction with their consumer advocacy program and could market their program to the seniors in those areas, and let that be a relationship. You could certainly, I would think the Office of the Agent could advertise its availability. If someone calls you and you say, why don't you give UCP a call, they have that service. But I don't understand why we have that concept.
Yeah.
I sort of felt that they wanted to go into this arrangement with us, that we needed something down in writing of what the agreement was. And they're also going to assume any liability. So before, the contract isn't even been finalized yet, but we would get an insurance certificate from them like we would any other contractor that we're doing business with. So they would actually be the ones to take the liability on, and that's going to be stated in the contract also. I think it's helpful for us to have an agreement between them, because we see the seniors. I mean, and it's hard to market to those areas also. We probably have the best access to the seniors in those communities. So we have people on meals right now that I know will benefit from that. There's people in the Schuyler area that I know will benefit from that. And they might not hear about this program because this is a program that is from Oneida County. So they don't have anything down here in Herkimer. So I'm not sure whether or not they would actually be able to reach the people that need to be reached.
I just wonder if you have a contract, somebody else wants to do lawn care for seniors, or somebody else wants to do odd jobs for seniors. I mean, if the Office of the Aging had a resource list of people who would advise the Office of the Aging, and the Meals on Wheels people would advise them of this service. I just question us having a contract, maybe the attorney, are we putting ourselves into something that we don't need to be in liability-wise, even if they give a certificate of insurance to protect us? I think it's wonderful service, and I appreciate that you're negotiating it, but I just question why we would have a contract.
All contracts go before the attorney's office. You can come back with season issues, is that correct?
Well, it's the intent of, we want a contract, I don't think nobody's interested in getting it done.
All in favor, raise your hand. Aye. Anyone opposed?
All in favor, Human Resources?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The fourth one is approve the immunization grant and amend the budget. Who's that?
That's our annual grants.
Public
Ways and Means, all in favor?
Aye.
I mean, motion on Ways and Means.
First.
Who's the second?
Second.
Okay.
Human Resources, a motion.
Second.
Gene?
And Fred.
When we get the information, transfer this to here or there, and I know we've got the digits of what it means, would it be difficult to put, I mean, we've got a letter saying move from this account to that account. Would it be difficult to say, or will we ultimately say, it's coming from personal service to supplies or whatever it is, for those of us that aren't familiar with your accounts? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't say, the letter on this one, approve immunization grant and amend the budget. It didn't, but the thing that I got didn't say what accounts you're moving it into.
That will be in the...
It will be in the resolution, thank you.
How much is the grant for?
32,259 people.
All in favor, Ways and Means?
Aye.
Opposed?
All in favor of Human Resources?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Fifth one, authorize chairman to sign settlement agreement and release with At Home Care Incorporated. May I have a motion?
Hallelujah.
Is there a second? Second. Jimmy second.
Ways and Means, can I have a motion?
Second.
John, Kurt, and Bernie, right?
Ellen?
Thank you again for forwarding the information on this. This is where they gave us the 50,000, and they're going to give us another 150,000. There were so many caveats in there about saving everybody liability long-term, forever and ever, as long as you live. I didn't have any appreciation that this was all tied to a sign-off of legal liability. We're holding at-home care forever, and they're holding us forever. Were there certain dangers in what we were doing? I'm confused by it, because the deal is done, that we no longer need it. It wasn't a marketable thing we had with our child, because the state didn't require it anymore. And I was of the impression they were paying us just because they had said they would pay us, which is a nice noble gesture, but there's so many caveats in that agreement. Can we have an appreciation of what were some of the things that we were fearful of liability on?
Yeah. We weren't afraid of anything. But the other side being wanted some protection. This is standard language. You know, lawyers, this language has evolved over decades and centuries, and lawyers have a way of saying in a very complicated way something very simple. It simply says, we're not suing them, and they're not
Job
suing
security.
us.
So this was a
No,
case
it's not
where...
job security.
It is job security. but I can
It's protecting
understand.
your client.
So this was a case where they rendered certain services for us under that agreement that they no longer will be rendering. Is that we purchased them, we had them do certain things for us during this transition period. And so if there should be any liability out of the time that they rendered by getting us $150,000, we're freeing them from it. But they haven't rendered it in a while, so one would hope we wouldn't know if there was any pending.
It says we don't sue them for anything related to this contract whatsoever, and they can't proceed against us. It's just a routine exchange of releases, nothing, it's garden variety releases, nothing unusual about it.
Mr. Chairman? The utilization of at-home care supplements what our public health nursing staff cannot do. Logistically. We have utilized them, I believe, to balance out where it's cheaper to privatize and hire this service than it is to provide it ourselves. And this contract just renews that agreement.
Is that true? Is that what this is? I thought this was selling the child license. This was the money that was promised us for selling the child license.
Is that true?
Canceled.
Oh, it is canceled. Okay.
Everything's canceled, nobody's suing anybody.
Because it wasn't marketed.
We were doing that. Our purpose was to transition. But what I'm saying is, we were doing it. Then we found it better to transition over to the privatization of it. And now we're getting further and further out of it.
In the meantime, we use their services now.
Well, this is where they wanted to buy it and the state no longer made it worth anything.
Right, on December
So they
8th.
said, we don't have to pay you, but here we're going to do, honor the good faith, $200,000 we promise you for the license. Thank you.
Not 200.
Well, that was 150 plus the 50 they already gave us, or it's a total 150?
150.
Total 200.
I thought it was.
No, I thought it was 150.
No, we already got 50. We got 50
So
right
it's
off the
another
sign.
150
So
for
we
a
were
total
waiting
of
for the
200.
150.
Yes.
Thank you.
I checked for $150,000.
All those in favor, Human Resources?
Aye.
Opposed?
All in favor, wait a minute.
Absolutely.
Opposed? Carried.
Is there any other for Human Resources?
Yeah, I have some other reduction.
Okay.
I received a
Well, you've got two
request,
other
another
issues.
request, I have received them in the past, for transportation of sick people, elderly sick people, to their doctors in Oneida County, but I guess the Office for the Aging only transports to Herkimer County. I told them to check with Catholic Charities, and they did, but Catholic Charities only has cars because they're volunteers. And when people got wheelchairs, they need vans and they can't get in the car. I guess we do transport people to Oneida County if they're on Medicaid. And we also transport prisoners all over the place. So I can't understand why we can't transport somebody that needs a ride to a doctor in Oneida County. Maybe we could come up with a system where they can pay the gas.
Yeah, but where in
So you
Herkimer
want
County can you
government
get
to do
service?
Well, they were doing it for the
Especially for all
Medicaid
of
people.
We're required.
That's mandated.
Well, so, we got taxpayers here, elderly and sick taxpayers, do not get the same benefits as somebody that's on Medicaid.
Let's do.
I think you should do it.
Let's do.
I know, we complain about that all the time, that every,
Well, if we're willing to pay for the cost of the gas, what's the problem?
Kathy?
that you're hiring somebody to do it.
Wear and tear on a vehicle.
Kathy?
You want.
Can you and Christine look into this and kind of figure out of something that would work?
We've talked about this forever.
I think we would come back to pretty
Well, you have
quick
the
with a
Office
cost.
Aging bus that take people to places that are not
Very
medicated. That goes around and picks them up, doesn't it? They don't have to be medicated.
Doesn't.
Really, if you remember,
Yeah.
Claudine brought this up, guys, years ago.
They're
Right,
already
for us to take the
transporting
dialysis.
seniors that are not medicated to
Well,
different things.
let's have them look into it and bring it back to us, and we can see if it's, you know, feasible.
Look for a dollar value on it.
Yep, that's it. We've done a lot of work.
I would appreciate that.
Senior picnic plans, or am I crazy? Is that June?
Yes,
Are we having it?
yes.
You have two other items.
Looking at those guys back there, I'm sorry. I'll get you the date, Helen.
Let's stick to the agenda here.
I want to say the 16th, but I'm not 100% sure.
Dutch, I got one question.
Well, we got still 2 items to go.
There's 2 items, right, then I'll get to it,
I'm
okay?
afraid I do the.
Approve the Office of Agent Advisory Board appointment. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? Second, Gene.
Me?
The name is Joseph Lee, 528 Garden Street, Little Falls.
Another little false.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
We got a good group of people.
You opposed? No. You're for it? It passes. Okay, number 8, approve the annual report of social services.
I'll second.
Who moved that?
Gene and Peter. Is there any discussion on that one? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Now, Fred, you have a question?
Yeah, I just thought after the appreciation dinner we were at last night,
Yeah.
the letter that Tim read,
Yeah.
I'd like to see that read before the legislature to share the
Well, maybe we
success.
can have that read Wednesday night.
We talked about putting that on the website too, so it's already been talked about. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, may I have somebody?
Motion to adjourn.
I move.
Jim and Pete?
Human resources.
Yep. Human resources.
Okay, all those in favor? Thank you.
Somebody you gotta help me.
It's easy now, after crew's gone.
After this one.
Yeah, there's 2.
One's the dentist, and one is...
Lady's not gonna be there.
Yeah, but that somehow they sent it to me.
He's gonna order a hot dog. No, Judge, you have not. If you're going to do this, you can go to
I've got one. Yeah.
You got it in your
I got one.
They have.
When you do your jobs. You ready? Number 1 is a consent and approved May Day legislation. Board of Election staffing request versus approved May Day legislation. Can I have a motion?
Bruce, I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Board of Election staffing request. Is there a motion? Where's the money coming from for this, by the way?
Contingency.
Where's the 150 to 250 coming from?
Contingency.
So we're not going to have any money left.
No, the jail's already running over too.
How much additional was Board of Elections needs to fulfill their request?
I'd have to do the math. And I heard this for the first time today, so I don't have it.
7 weeks at $14.70 an hour. Right?
What'd you say?
It's $14.70 an hour times 19
You
times
got
7.
benefits and everything else in there.
No, they're part-time.
Yeah, but you got
$2 grand.
You got 20-something% for retirement, you got 7.65 for Medicare security until that goes up again.
Just don't get vacation and sick.
That's why I said I don't have the True number, I don't have.
So let's say.
Will there be a
$2,500.
corresponding, will we transfer now or will we transfer at a later date?
I would transfer it now because you know it's a known expense.
So that'll be calculated and there'll be a resolution calling for that transfer?
Absolutely.
Or appropriation if it's coming out of contingent?
Right.
For Wednesday night?
Yep. Then I'd have, yeah.
I just personally think you knew this was coming. They haven't been in the office to do the work, some of them. Sorry that Kathy has to go, wants to go, but this planning should have been done a little bit better for Ways and Means
We
purposes.
face this in so many of the departments. We hired somebody in the real property office, and we had to hire somebody back to do the training. It happens so often.
Yeah, but most of our people that are retiring, if it's the 3 months that we need them for the year, they stay on. This person could have chose a better time, you know, I think.
Not only that, we knew some of this was going on before our budgetary issues last year.
I don't think we knew the person was retiring.
Geez, I was told by the person that they were leaving in March.
I think they were contingent on some family.
By law, how much notice do we need, Jim?
Steve, 2 weeks?
Want somebody to give notice?
Retirement, you know, 30 days, they tell the retirement system 30 days.
15 days now.
15?
They got changed. Because I keep moving that up.
So, I mean, there would, this is part of the gauntlet you run with trying to keep something going with a broad spectrum of employment options people have in public employment.
It also suggests, Mr. Chairman, that our department heads overall across the board,
We're dealing with it.
you have the accrued vacation and things. Vacation is taken, I would think, with the approval of the supervisor. So supervisors should be encouraging their staff not to build so much accrued time that we're months without them when they leave. Well, we have the right to suggest to them. It's not their inherent right.
Absolutely.
But just a reminder, you don't get vacation time for a whole year here. You earn your vacation time.
Right. So you have
Somebody
access.
earns that vacation time and then they retire within a month. We owe them those first 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks.
Oh, they get vacation all at once?
After they've already worked. So we're better than almost every other government in the country. You have to work here. You don't get a day the first year. You can borrow, but you don't get a day. So they've worked that full year, guys, to get that.
Without vacation.
And it's personal to their individual anniversary date?
Absolutely.
So they get, if they're entitled to 4 weeks vacation, they get 4 weeks right there.
If June 1st is their anniversary date, they get that's when they get it.
And personal, you don't get paid for, right? If they chose to, they wouldn't get paid for personal time. They wouldn't get paid for vacation.
Right. They use that.
Well, I just think the training should.
No, I agree.
I think the training should, have been clear.
We should send that message out to all departments. Because, I mean, I have asked for...
Well, there's a big difference when people are here doing their job and still having a problem, and other people that aren't here not doing their job. And then having to face all this issues that come up. All of a sudden, we need this money.
What do you mean people here doing their job?
Department heads that you're referring to are having issues versus department heads
You're
that aren't
suggesting
here.
they're not here doing their job?
Absolutely.
Oh, I think that should be discussed when the department head was here.
All in favor, Board of Election staffing requests?
Luckily, yes.
No, I don't have a horse's race. Yeah, I heard all of your comments.
Motion. First.
Oh, motion.
Second.
Your second?
I'll second.
Are we doing that again for the board?
Yeah, I didn't get a motion.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
We got to, yes.
How about that split?
Opposed?
Nobody opposed?
Carried. Approved crime victims coordinator, position and salary.
Are the DA's with us?
What we're asking for here, ladies and gentlemen, is to amend or change the work week for that position from a 35-hour work week to a 30-hour work week and pay at 86% of the salary, reducing, in essence, the salary from $37,000 and change down to $32,000. The reason for that is the spirit of the agreement between the district attorney's office and the legislature has always been that this is a entirely grant-funded position. We now have a vacancy in that position, and the person who left was taking in lieu of insurance. And so we're trying to reduce the salary to a level so that I can then start interviewing people, and if they choose to take insurance, which it would be their option, that we would then fall within the parameters of the grant. So I'm trying to adjust the salary down to try to stay within the spirit of the agreement that has always been in place between this body and the district attorney's office. This is all subject to approval not only by the legislature but also by the granting source also. So, but we're trying to move this forward so I can fill that position.
Second. Any discussion?
Is this a union position?
Yes.
Yep, no, absolutely. That's why.
Is it a competitive position?
Yes.
Competitive one? Examination? And does it have to be competitive when you're filling a part-time?
My understanding, it would be filled provisionally until the next exam is given, which will be given in the fall of 2014.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have a purchasing policy we need to approve. Is there a motion? I'll move. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead.
Lenny did the same thing, didn't he?
I marked it ahead of time. That's all right. Okay, we have approved transfers, highway and sheriff.
Number two.
Oh my God, I've been marking them all down. Approve apportionment of mortgage tax.
So moved.
Second. Any questions? Other than for me. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now approve transfers for highway and sheriff.
So moved.
Any questions?
Down in Kirk?
Any discussion?
What about the transfers up top, quick, down and dirty?
$5,000 in highway to the motor vehicle account because there didn't be as much for trade-ins as they were. And $9,600 in the sheriff's Homeland Security account because the police agencies in the county have requested air cards instead of equipment.
Instead of what, Mark?
Instead of equipment. They want the air cards, telephone service.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approve purchasing policy.
There's no actual changes, a couple of clarifications in the annually after the $10,000 limit that the department has been signed by yourselves. That's actually the policy that we've been following, but the question came up, so we made that. And also to make it clear that if someone, the department head can't accept a grant even under $10,000 by themselves because it needs an appropriation.
I'll make the motion.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Authorize $2,500 request for recognition event. Mr. Bowen?
Yeah, the committee came up with, it's actually going to be 2730. You wanted a breakdown of the event and the cost. The event's scheduled for May 21st. The committee's met half a dozen times or so.
Who's the committee?
The committee is myself, Carol Lalonde, and Mrs. Deming and Brittany Cotton. Miss Cotton have helped out in the back room here, apart from the meetings. And then on the college end, we have Dr. Murray, Dan Sargent, Bill McDonald, and Bob Van Walker, along with Tim Rogers from the college. We've tried to cover everything. It's going to be a nice event. We've got all the invitations out. All the local dignitaries, state, federal, have been invited. The public's been invited. There's been public service announcements made. I filmed a thing on for HCCC. I believe it's going to air on regular cable.
For this event, you filmed it?
Yes. All the fire and first responders have been invited. You know, it's going to be a county-wide event. It's a really nice event. What we figured, I know you wanted a breakdown. We had flowers, a price of $250, and plaques, the 10 plaques at $65 each for recognizing certain agencies that helped. They'll be $680. There'll be posters made up of, and I don't want to give it away too much, but pictures of certain individuals, and so that's 6 posters at $300. And here's the variable that we don't know. We had a price of $6 a head for approximately 250 people for a reception. We don't think it's going to be $250. That'll be $1,500. That comes out to $2,730 total. It's more probably about 100 to 150 people. So that price will come down. So it'll be below $2,730. My gut feeling. But if you could approve at least $2,730. We did away with the bagpipers. We felt that was more of a pomp and circumstance type, commencement type thing. So there'll be a choral arrangement, a group there singing, along with some speeches by local dignitaries, and so it's going to be more of a healing and recognition type of event.
Where's this money coming from?
That's what we're asking for.
Where's it coming?
Pull it out of contingency.
It will currently come out of the legislature.
You have that kind of money in there. What about personal donations and not let it be a taxpayer's thing at all, from among ourselves?
It's so late to do that. We could try. They've already knocked the prices down. I know the guy from the plaques knocked it down probably 25%. We eliminated the bagpipers. They wanted some money, so we eliminated that. Again, the food should probably be around around $900. We're figuring. But it could go up to $1,500 if 250. We haven't had that good. The RSVP is the 15th, so we'll get a better handle on how many people are coming to the reception. It may be 50 or 100, so it'll knock that down. But I think it's worth it.
This is just honoring the first responders. It's not going. I don't mean just, but we're honoring the first responders. It's not going to the victims or families of victims.
No, families have been invited. They will be, the victims will be recognized. A healing prayer will be given of sorts, and it'll encompass everything. The families, the victims, the people that were injured. The firefighters, the law enforcement. It's just to say thank you. I think we owe it to those people to say thank you. I know everybody says, well, it's their job. Well, guess what? There's nothing wrong with saying thank you, and it's a small token for what happened on those 2 days. There were over 600 people here from all levels that were very professional about the whole incident. And it's a small enough. I have no problem with that. And if that's the case, then we can go to some of the vendors out there. But you got to remember, a lot of those people in the public already gave. We had mom and pop shops giving food to those 600. So they've already given in that sense. So if
all right, I make the motion.
I'll second. It's going to come out of the legislature fund.
Any idea how much discretionary money we have in there?
Well, it's not discretionary, is it? It's in there.
But it's not targeted for anything.
I'd say can we do donations too besides that? Can we kick in whatever we want to kick in?
You could kick in if you I'd be willing to kick in and set the bar if you want to kick in. We could pitch something. Kurt. May 21st, 7 p.m. at the college.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Carried. Is there any other? Motion to adjourn?
Second. 12:22.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.